Welcome to See You in the Lobby, women's basketball's least filtered, newest, best, greatest ever podcast ever. I'm WNBA writer and author of the Bet on Women newsletter, Matt Ellentuck. I am joined by my friend and former WNBA All-Star Marissa Coleman, and we're going to kick off the show in the way that we always do.
And I know the people are excited because Matt's back to being a loser.
Yeah, well, that didn't
You can take your tiny trophy first. Matt lost not one, but two bets last week. My bet was that Gabby was going to outscore AC. She did.
Yeah.
And then you said,
thanks, Alicia Clark,
that as he was going to have 3 blocks, she only had 2. So
I can never hate on my fave, so she tried her hardest.
Here's shot 1. While you take that, I'll go ahead and...
It's really kind of you.
Oh, and you poured mine to the brim last week, so let me make sure I do the same. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Here's number 2.
I always wanted a second.
One day you'll take those shots and you won't turn red.
I'm going to burp is what's going to happen. I can just feel every part of my body.
Do you feel like you're in Bentley's again? Back in college? Oh, you guys didn't go to Bentley's.
Of course I went to Bentley's. That was cool.
It feels good to be the winner again.
Can you start talking about something else?
I mean, let's start with Vegas-Phoenix. That wasn't even a series.
Yeah, I mean, we can pretty much write that one away.
We can.
Although I will give Phoenix some credit. Game 1 was at least a little interesting. It took Vegas a little quick second, and then Chelsea Gray is on another planet right now.
She is on another planet. I'm not going to give Phoenix credit for doing their job. You're getting paid to play this game.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to show up and play.
You're missing your 3 best players, and you still play Vegas competitively. That's something. And they missed Shea Petty for a good portion after the injury.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, unfortunate to see her go down, but
terrible.
Yeah, next.
Seattle, Washington, somehow I don't know if any of us had a sweep coming, but it was still a very fun series.
I wanted to say sweep, but I didn't want it on air because then I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah,
I did think DC was going to sneak away with one in Seattle, but the way Seattle's playing right now, I mean, Sue's playing she looks extra focused. She's playing on a level. Great. When Joel plays like this, they're almost unbeatable.
That's what I was going to say. Like, to me, so far in the playoffs, the 2 stars who needed to break out and are both Chelsea Gray and Jewel Lloyd. And with the 2 of them playing, at the top of their game, their teams are they're on another level.
No, I agree. And both of those teams need those players. They're all clicking at the same time, and Stewie's going to Stewie. She's going to be consistent. She's going to get her quiet 20 no matter what. So, yeah, I thought they had a chance, but I didn't think the sweep was going to happen. Washington has a lot to figure out in the offseason. They need one more piece. Deladon can't do it by herself. They have great players, but they need another superstar. But with her the first game, you look at the first game, in the second game, even her shooting mechanics were different. She wasn't getting the lift on her shot anymore. So
well, she was getting triple teamed in that second game. I mean, pretty much it came down to Seattle being like, oh, if the Elena head is cut off, it doesn't seem like the supplemental players
I guarantee you
the
coaching staff told Seattle, let somebody else beat us.
And it didn't happen.
And that's my point why DC they need another superstar. They need another star that can come in. They have great players, but they don't have that star level that can another pure scorer that can just come in and get a bucket when they need it.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. Now reflecting based on how we know both players have played, Washington had the number 1 pick. They traded down to get pick number 3, which they got Shakira Austin with. Now they have another lottery chance in this upcoming draft. But seeing what we've seen out of Ryan Howard, do you think that maybe Washington should have kept that pick? Is Ryan that type of player that you're thinking of?
No, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right? I don't think anybody in the W world could have guessed that Ryan Howard would have the season she had this year. I mean, Shakira fits that system. So it's not necessarily, and Ryan fits in Atlanta. I don't think she'd be as effective in DC's system as she was in Atlanta. I'm happy with Shakira Austin. I think she had a great rookie season that was a little bit overshadowed because of how great Ryan Howard played. But if she uses this offseason to develop and just fine-tune a few things, I think they'll be very happy with that pick.
Speaking of which, I saw Shakira Austin today. I decided not to say anything because I thought it would be too weird, but shout out to Shakira Austin. I hope you had a great time in Union Station this morning. I hope you had a safe trip.
You sound like a stalker.
I didn't mean to. Well, it would have been weirder if I went up to her, right?
No.
Did you ever have weird experiences with people running into you in places that you would not have expected?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been that person. But yeah, you're right. Shakira played a great role in Washington. She was clearly a fit pick. And she's only going to get better. She's, 23?
Yeah. She'll definitely get better. They just need one more piece. And EDD to be healthy. 100% healthy.
Game one, Elena was like, oh.
Yeah, she looked like in peak form.
I was trying to reason with it, and I agree with you. I think Washington probably needs to make some sort of move. They'll probably figure out a way. Maisha had a really down season, and I think she's a player that Washington can upsell in the offseason, right? And go back to the tape and be like, yeah, she had an offseason, last year, but look how great she was, and try to move her for a piece that fits them better. Washington has to take this season as crap. The Elena Delle Donne era is not over yet. I know that she had to sit out some games,
what do you
but when
mean
she
by
played,
take it by crap?
No, I'm saying they have to be there had to have been a moment in 2020, 2021 that DC fans were like, Elena might be it. That might be toast. Her career might be done after she came back for 3 games, didn't play so well, sat out in 2020. I wouldn't blame any fans for being the Delle Donne reign is over. But Delle Donne was awesome in game 1. Delle Donne was awesome in every game that she played in this year. I know that they held her out because they wanted her healthy for the playoffs, and it turned out that was probably a good idea, right? Elena looked really good in game 1. Seattle just game planned a lot better for her in game 2. But Washington has to feel like they're still in, they're relevant still, as long as they can add another piece.
Yeah, no, okay, I agree with you. They need another piece.
They do.
I didn't have Washington. I didn't think they were going to go deep in the playoffs. I didn't think they were a real contender to win a championship because they don't have the pieces. So it'll be.
I was wondering.
They need a backup point guard. You're
not a Machida believer?
No, I mean she served her purpose for what they need this year, but they need a backup point guard. The game yesterday, as soon as Bree Jan got the ball and she was on her, all she did was rip and go to the basket. She's a liability on the defense end, and she's really not bringing you anything scoring wise. So I think they need a backup point guard, and they need another scorer.
The other series we have not touched on, Connecticut Sun. Damn it, Connecticut Sun. Every year.
We want to be believers.
Every year we go through the same stuff. And I'm always like, they have Jonquel Jones. Look at the way Alyssa Thomas is playing. DeWanna Bonner. Courtney Williams is the fix this year.
I want to be a believer.
Why do they always have to disappoint?
I want to be a believer.
They got rocked in game 2 in the way that makes me think once again this team just doesn't. The components aren't making sense.
Yeah, I think they shake some things up, and it might be time. Does Kurt need to go? How many opportunities do you? I mean, honestly, he's gotten a lot more opportunities than some other coaches in this league with similar talented rosters that never can get over that hump. But yeah, that game is a prime example why you can't trust Connecticut. Now, it's no knock to Dallas. Dallas is a good team, but on paper, and if you look at the season, Connecticut should not be losing or down by 30 at any point.
It's so hard to describe too. This is a team that most of the main players from that 2019 finals team that took a really good Mystics team to 5 games are still there, and they've added DeWanna Bonner ever since then. It feels like this should be the year. Obviously, every year we go through but this player isn't healthy for Connecticut, and that this year it's Jasmine Thomas because they obviously every year something like that happens. But still, you shouldn't be getting rocked at home by. It was a 30-point game. Yeah. I know that Connecticut came back.
They made
it
end, respectable,
but it was ugly.
But the same way, you and I are sitting here talking about how you can't trust Connecticut and make us a believer. The other teams are talking about that. If you're facing Connecticut in the playoffs, you're going to look at their track record. They are beatable. Nobody's scared to play Connecticut because of their track record. They're going to trick off one game at some point. So that plays a big part into it. They have not been consistent enough where they can instill fear into other people. I remember if you played mini when I was in the league, you were not necessarily scared to play mini, but you knew what you were going to get. You had to play almost a perfect game when you were going up against Minnesota. And I just use that as a comparison. It's nobody's ever playing Connecticut and all right, Dallas was not fearful going into this series against them. They knew they had a chance.
That is really interesting to think that reputationally it does really matter. Year after year, if your team, if you're being coached or you're being managed or your core is the same as teams that have failed in the past, everyone's like, eh.
Yeah.
I'm not really.
And I used the Minnesota example because you knew you had to beat Minnie. Minnie was not going to beat themselves. Connecticut will beat themselves.
Even this year, if you played Minnie on a down year, you're still getting you're playing against a Cheryl Reeve team. Do you still feel that they're going to play up?
This year, not as much. You know they're going to be well coached, but their teams in the I'll just keep using my same example that you had to beat them. They weren't going to beat themselves, and that's why they were the dynasty that they were.
You're we can get into their heads. You can just whisper in their ear remember 2019, remember 2020.
Yeah, you know Connecticut is going to do something to give you an opportunity.
This week, Marissa and I have a very interesting interview that I think that everybody will enjoy, and by interesting, I mean it was literally just me and her vibing with Theresa Plaisance and Sydney Colson, and it was deranged, bizarre. It had no purpose.
Matt ended up on the floor. He was
I ended up
so
on
hard.
the floor. We got Sid to do her rendition of Fergie's national anthem. If you're looking to just kill a couple of minutes to watch four people who had no purpose of speaking with each other vibe out, I would suggest listening to this. Do you think about Fergie's national anthem as much as I do?
I don't think about it as much as I think about Draymond's reaction to it.
Okay, Sid, putting you on the spot. You have to sing Fergie's version of the national anthem. Ready, go.
The bomb bat stink in air.
I thought I was sitting next to Fergie for a second.
That's what it's like hanging out with Sid and T for a bit.
And that's when we first started the show, that was what I said was their X factor this season, was their team chemistry. So when you see their antics and then you see the Aces social media, and that's really how they are as a team as a whole, that's why they've had the successful season they have. On top of obviously they have the talent, but that team chemistry carries you far.
Listen, and you need that. It's a long season. You're doing a lot of travel, right? If you're with people who are just kind of boring.
Yeah, and you're winning, so it makes everything better.
It's good vibes all around. Let's talk about who answered the bell this time around, Marissa.
Let's do it. My preseason pick for Sixth Woman of the Year, and one of my favorites, Gabby Williams. She's had a tremendous season, and as a starter, she's had a tremendous season, and she's played so well so far in the playoffs. It was unfortunate to see her go down with the concussion, but when you watch, obviously there's just things that show up on the stat sheet, but there was a play in particular against Washington where there was miscommunication on the defensive end. She went to guard the wing and then sprinted back and got another player, and then Sue came out. Those are intangible. She's just so athletic. And she adds a dynamic to Seattle that they haven't had ever, I think. Her strides to get down the floor, the way she can get in passing lanes, she can rebound and bring it up. She is a piece that Seattle desperately needed.
Just watching her as a so-called roamer, right? A player who can just help off her player and mess around with everyone else and what the expected rotations are is nuts. Basically, the Mystics were fearful of Gabby Williams. There was the one play at the end of game one, which sealed the game, where everybody was rotating super quick and Natasha Cloud went to go throw to the corner and noticed Gabby Williams was there. And for that reason, she whipped the pass the other way that went out of bounds because she was so flustered by it. And Natasha Cloud is one of the premier point guards in this league at this point, led the league in assists, really good ball handler. But just the idea that Gabby was kind of over there.
She's so athletic. She's quick. Her first step is insane.
Nuts.
I would like to see her even be a little more aggressive. Obviously it's a new team for her, and she's playing with Stewie, Jewel, and Sue. But I think once she gets a little more confident and plays a little more aggressive, it's going to take her to a whole other level. She's not too many people in this league can guard her and do what she does. So I would even like to see her become a little more aggressive. But I'm excited for her. I'm so happy that she got out of Chicago because I felt like they had shackles on her the entire time she was there.
Yeah, she's kind of said in the past that she didn't really feel fully comfortable in her role there, and now she's doing a role that's hard to define, but you're she's a one of one that gets to be in a role that's hard to define. And we're talking about somebody who was nearly an Olympic high jumper. Her athletic abilities are through the roof.
She's insanely athletic. So yeah, I'm happy for her. I think she's going to be a big key for Seattle if they make this championship run.
Yeah, and hope she's well. Obviously after the concussion, we're hoping she's back for game one.
Fingers
of the
crossed.
series.
I'm pulling for Seattle.
We talked a little bit about the Mystics. Let's talk a little bit about the Mercury's send-off after an interesting year.
It was a disaster of a season.
Yeah, disaster, I think, is the way to put it on the court.
Even, let's take the unfortunate BG situation completely out of, it was a disaster, even removing that. It was unfortunate because Phoenix has always been one of those premier organizations in the W that were always consistent in what they did on and off the court. And this was just not the Phoenix, like it was just dysfunction that you weren't necessarily used to from Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of really depressing to watch, right? Like we all this year, obviously we all wanted to see BG on the court, but even without BG, we were expecting a hell of a year from Skylar Diggins-Smith, which she gave us until the end of the season when she was out for personal reasons. Diana Taurasi had like a maybe the most up and down Diana Taurasi season I've ever seen, which kind of, for the first time, really started to call into question, like how much time does Diana have left? And then the injury to close out the season, you're like, what does Phoenix really have? I don't really get their on-court piece.
They have a lot of figuring out to do this offseason. I know their GM said Skylar will be back. I would be very surprised to see Skylar back in a Phoenix uniform next year.
He said that she was under contract, which is not a lie.
I don't know
she is
Skylar,
under contract.
but I could see her being the type of like, all right, well, I don't need to play. Like,
yeah.
If she sat out for whatever her personal reasons were these last few games, well, I could see her like forcing a trade or sitting out.
I don't know how you do it. It's going to be tough for them to balance too because it sounds like Diana's going to at least play another year. There's been no like rumors about this actually being the end. So you can't just get rid of a franchise icon even though she's not playing her best basketball. And when Diana's on the court, you kind of have to build your offensive system around Diana. That's the type of player she is. So that's really hard to juggle, especially when you have another player like Skylar in her prime, a couple of other younger pieces who have really stepped up in their absence. It's just a weird juggling game they have.
It is. And they're going to have the unfortunate and extremely unique situation where they're going to have to plan next season as if Brittany Griner's not playing.
Yeah.
Because, there's still a lot of unknowns with that situation. Hopefully she's back soon. And if she is, who knows if she'll be in the mental state and have the capacity to compete at a high level next season. So they're going to have to game plan for next season as if they don't have Griner. So, like, what does that look like?
I don't envy Phoenix's position, but yeah, and obviously the Shea Petty injury just hurt so bad. I felt so bad after everything that team had gone through that something like that had to happen to like one of everyone's like favorite people in the league. Here it is.
Number 9.
I'll let you have yours at this.
Number 9.
Go ahead. Go
Number
off.
9.
Do you?
First of all, Tina Charles is living rent-free in her head. I would love to know what the backstory is. Why number 9 has so much to say about Tina.
I'll give some context. I'll pull up this exit interview quote that Sophie Cunningham gave. I have not seen video. We have not seen video. At least I couldn't find any on Twitter, so I'm just seeing the text copy. Sophie Cunningham, in quotes, "There was beauty in the chaos. We all need a month-long trip to Hawaii. Best thing to happen to me was Tina leaving. Opened up a lot of opportunity." I mean,
some could take that as her just simply saying, okay, like Tina left, there was an opportunity that presented itself. I took advantage of that. But because we know how she is and her antics, she definitely was taking a shot at Tina. And then you couple that with how she said the whole blank Tina Charles.
We know
I'm gonna go with she
feelings.
didn't mean it. Like, I just took this as an opportunity. Again, it's just disrespect. Like, why? What did?
It's beyond silly, and only one of them made the semifinals. So,
right, and only one of them is an Olympian and going to be in the Hall of Fame.
It's weird.
An all-star, like
it's weirdo stuff. You know that everybody in the league is not a fan of you. I don't know what the purpose of taking additional shots.
It says a lot about her. Maybe that just fuels her. But anyway.
Let's talk about, I think the biggest topic of the first round of the playoffs is just the playoff structure, right? We used to have this single elimination structure in the first 2 rounds. Top 2 seeds would get double byes, automatically advance to the semis. Now everybody has to really earn their place in these best of 3 series. What we've gotten out of it is 2 really competitive series that are now going to a decisive game 3 that is do or die anyway, but oddly enough puts the team with the lower seed at an advantage because they get to play at home while the top seed plays on the road. How do you feel the system has worked so far, and what needs to be changed, if anything?
Well, I thought single elimination was so dumb to begin with. I don't think at the professional level should you have single elimination. There's too many factors that come into a game. Anybody can mess around and beat somebody in one game. But this format's just as dumb. I think I understand that they want to factor in the travel, and then obviously there's the money involved. I think all the series just need to be best of 5 because there's no reason why Connecticut and Chicago should be playing in an elimination game away after it's playing 2 home games. It doesn't make sense.
So you do best of 5. The better seed gets the first 2 games at home and the final game at home.
I think format-wise, everybody should have equal games, excluding the closeout game. The closeout game should always be in the home court, the higher seed.
Yeah.
And then, but for somebody should have an opportunity to win enough games to get home and play on their home court. It's just it doesn't make sense. But then it's all right, but you didn't handle your business at home, so you had to go.
There's a lot. I mean, I see a lot on Twitter of fans just being you had 2 chances at home to win.
But that it's hard. It's hard to beat a team 2 times in a row, let alone twice at home. Yeah, you still have home court advantage, but the opposing team, it's all right, we just want to get back home. All we have to do is win 1 game. That's always your mindset going into a series away. And I just need to get 1. We need to steal 1 on the road. That's always the mindset.
Here's what I will say. So, I'm obviously into the playoff format, just whatever's going to give me the best chaotic moment. So I loved single elimination in the first round. Did not love it in the second round. The 4-5 seeds should not have to play in single eliminations. But now I'm getting that single elimination feel out of these game 3s. I definitely don't think that it should be on the road. But as a fan, I'm damn, this is kind of spicy. I got to watch Connecticut go try to, if Connecticut loses a game 3 in the first round to a Dallas Wings team without Enrique Ogunbowale, we are going to slander them for an entire summer, entire fall, entire winter. And now Chicago has the same type of pressure, and they have to go play in New York, which fans in Brooklyn are pretty hype about this, right? It's cool. As a fan, I'm excited.
I would not be surprised if Dallas beats Connecticut.
It would certainly provide a lot of content and disrespect. The disrespect narrative would take a beating.
All the pressure is on Connecticut. Dallas has no pressure going into this game. All of the pressure is on Connecticut. You saw, AT's article she came out with basically essentially this is their time. Everything's clicking at the right time. All the chatter among the players is how they're peaking at the right time and then they are down 30 to Dallas. All the pressure's on them. Dallas can just go out there and just play. They know nobody expects them to win this series.
Sure don't.
And, I mean...
Dallas is messing around with their starting lineups. They're I guess Tierra, come off the bench this time. I don't know. Let's try something. Yeah. That's a cool energy to have as a playoff team, to really just not give a shit. Let's see what works. And they found a lineup that worked. Rapid fire. We have to give our predictions now.
Okay.
Let's provide our social people with some fun little content for us to then get roasted by when it doesn't happen. Connecticut, Dallas, game 3, on the spot. Who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Dallas.
Connecticut, I believe a little more in you. I think you're going to pull it off.
I'm going to go with Dallas.
Now, the real cake of this entire playoff.
Yeah, I'm excited about this series.
We're getting the Seattle Storm against the Las Vegas Aces, which really feels like a finals matchup. We're getting it in the semis. What is your first impression on that?
I'm excited about it. It's best of 5. If the game 2 Sundays ago is any indication of what this series can look like, it's going to be fun. And it's going to be good for the league because it has all the superstars that we've been talking about this season. We have the battle of the potential MVP. There's so many storylines in this. I think it's going to break viewership numbers. 1 and 2. It's going to be really, really good for the league to see the whole Asia Stewie, because in the back of their mind they both are I gotta show up for the MVP chatter, and the way Jules playing, and then Chelsea Gray. Seattle's gonna have to rebound. If you even look at that DC series, they gave up some offensive rebounds. Luckily, they had the lead, so it didn't cost them. But that's not something you can do against the Aces. Aces are gonna have to limit their turnovers and play more together. Sometimes throughout the season, Vegas tends to play a lot of one-on-one ball. You can't do that against Seattle. So it's going to be interesting because they both can score.
Someone's heart is going to get broken in this series is what's going to happen. I feel like Seattle and Vegas are the league's 2 most beloved teams this year, right? You obviously have the Sue send-off narrative in Seattle, and we've been building Las Vegas Aces for what it feels like 3 or 4 years, right? The league kind of kept throwing them number 1 picks. They're like, please, we want this team to be good. Like, you get Asia Wilson, you get Jackie Young, you get Kelsey Plum. It's like, go ahead, like, give us something good. Now we got the full product. We have the Aces completely unleashed. Becky Hammon's done a tremendous job in simply kind of just saying, hey guys, go shoot around, go have some fun. They've been a joy to watch. And Seattle, I mean, this is really the last run for this dynasty that maybe you can call them a dynasty if they honestly win this year. They've won, that would have been 3 championships in like 5 or 6 years. So someone's heart's going to get broken. It's a bunch of All-Stars, a bunch of Hall of Famers, a bunch of Olympic gold medalists. Like, this is the series that, like, this is Sue's whole like career could end in this gigantic series. And I feel like the champion is going to be made out of this series. I really do feel like whoever comes out of this alive is going to finish it all.
And I agree with everything you said, and what I keep thinking about is Vegas essentially had an easy series against Phoenix. Like that wasn't
the easiest series they could have asked.
So a lot of what we saw, I mean, they've been pretty consistent throughout the season, but I don't think you got a real like teaser of what Vegas in the playoffs is going to look like. That it wasn't a series. There was too much going on in Phoenix.
Chelsea Gray was playing with food for half it.
Chelsea's playing amazing. And then, I mean, Asia didn't really have to do anything. I think she's averaging 12 right now in the playoffs. Yeah. So that might work against Vegas because they haven't had to play at that playoff intensity yet.
Seattle certainly did.
Seattle had to, and the way that they're going to have a lot of momentum coming off of that win, that series win, but in particular that game too, because of how everything looked like they were clicking. Sue played great. Joel was playing amazing. Stewie's playing awesome. And then if the Aces don't get De'Erica back, chalk it up. It's been a good season. That's
really going to be the factor, right? I don't think you can take 4 great players and a bunch of mid-level players and win in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. And Vegas's bench has always been, their Achilles heel. And without De'Erica, who she started this year, but not having her and what she brings to that team, I don't see it happening. And then when you just compare benches, Seattle's bench is way more experienced. You have Breon January, you have Jantel Lavender, you got my girl Ezzy. You got Ezzy, and you have Piff.
Yeah, they're a deep team.
And while all those, those older players I just mentioned, they're, at the tail end of their career, I'm not going to ever bet against Piff. Piff scored 100 points and 120 in a high school game. Like, I played with her. She can get a bucket when she wants to get a bucket. Bree January, one of the best, if not the best point guard I've ever played with, and I know what she's capable. She's going to make the right decisions at all times. And having a player of that caliber replacing Sue Bird like that, so I'm going to give the edge to Seattle for the series.
In how many games?
I think we'll go 4.
I was going to say.
I think I have Vegas winning. Vegas is going to win on Sunday, in my opinion. I think they're going to be hyped. It's at home. They're going to get a big crowd. I'll give them the edge on Sunday.
And 3 in a row for Seattle?
But I think, yeah.
I'm taking Seattle also. I don't know if it's going to happen exactly like that, but I think 4 games. Seattle's just too deep. I think they're my team that I think at this point could win it all. After Chicago, unfortunately, made me feel a little shaky about that. Oh, God. No.
See, this is why you shouldn't... This is why ringing the bell is my job.
Kelsey's Plum, I'm so sorry.
We can take my bell over
Kelsey,
here.
We can get that fixed. Let's give our bets this week.
All right, you go first.
We are talking about the Connecticut-Dallas Game 3 big finale. I'm going to go all the way in on our fellow Terp, Alyssa Thomas. I do think Connecticut's going to win this game. I think Alyssa Thomas will triple-double.
Triple-double?
Give me a playoff triple-double from AT. She's not losing.
Okay, that's a little too 5. I love AT. I don't know if she'll get a triple-double. I think she will have a big game.
Oh, you're a hater, I guess.
Whoa. Don't do that, because I love AT. Don't try to cause rift within the family. Damn. My bet. I'm gonna go with Alicia Gray. I'm gonna have her getting 20.
I like that.
I'm gonna have her getting at least 20. I think she's gonna go off. And I have Dallas. I have Dallas getting the dub.
Wow. All right, so that's our little secondary bet. I think our secondary bet for next week is going to be this: whoever wins, the other person has to drink. team-wise.
Oh,
because you're on
of course
Dallas.
he needs more bets because he needs more opportunities to win.
I need a little side pot because I can't be the one just chugging drinks every week.
All right, we can make that a bet right now. I bet you 2 shots. Dallas beats Connecticut.
All right, deal. I'm all in on Connecticut. I'm not disrespecting. Please tell them I'm not disrespecting.
I'm not either. I'm just.
I think you're disrespecting. Anyway, thanks for indulging us in another episode of, I don't know, some WNBA talk. We had a good time, and we'll see you next week.